So we welcome Khadija to the show now. Thank you for joining us, Khadija.
Thank you so much, Kevin, for having me on.
Now, we're just looking at a picture of this fun run in the mosque, or organised by the mosque in East London. And I mean, I've got a feeling that if you went into the intricacies of British law, this would be illegal under the Equalities Act. You can't ban women from an inclusive event, and yet they're banned because this was a race, if you like, staged, or a run, fun run, if you like, kind of staged under Sharia law, under Islamic law, as opposed to British law. What did you think when you saw this going on?
I mean, it was not surprising for me at all, but it was shocking because this event wasn't taking place in Afghanistan or in Iran or in Saudi Arabia or in Pakistan. It was taking place in the UK. And that was shocking because this mosque, the East London Mosque, has been organizing this event for years now. And it's only this year that this event has become a topic of discussion. For so many years, they were organizing this event while excluding women and girls from taking part in this event, and nobody bothered at all. And this is shocking. This explains how slightly and slowly and gradually our society is shifting towards Sharia compliance. I mean, this trait of segregation, I wouldn't call it even segregation, I would call it gender apartheid. And this is an essential aspect of Sharia compliance. You can observe it in religiously conservative Muslim societies around the world. And now this has been normalized here in the UK, where people don't bother if women and girls are being excluded from a so-called inclusive and family event. So for me, it was really shocking.
But you point out, though, that there's a strange syndrome in this country that, as you rightly say, if Christians or any organisation said, right, there's a fun run, but women can't take part, people go, well, this is sexist, this is misogyny. If it was a Christian run or a Jewish run or whatever, people would go, that's wrong, that's wrong. And yet, because it's Islamic, because it's a Muslim run, it's part of the Islamic culture, that liberals in this country turn a blind eye to this. And as I say, Khadija, if we looked into it, I haven't looked into the intricacies, but I bet you this is actually against the law. It's against the equalities law. You cannot exclude women purely because they are women, which is what's happening here. And you say in your excellent article, it's a heartbreaking story that you grew up in Pakistan in a strict Muslim household. And your dad was reasonably liberal insofar as when you were a little girl, he did allow you to cycle in the street, go on your bicycle. But when you complained to him that a group of boys had jeered at you for being so permissive, your dad told you that you were the problem and banned you from ever cycling again. You were 8 years old. You say that it was only 2 decades later, after you moved to Germany in your late 20s, that you ever rode a bicycle again. So what was it like growing up in that kind of environment? I mean, you're obviously, you know, an intelligent woman. I mean, even as an 8-year-old, did you think, why am I being banned from riding a bicycle?
It wasn't, normal for a child to be banned for something. That wasn't that child's fault. And I was blamed for what happened out in the street. And it was shocking for me as a young girl, as a child. But we have to understand this one thing, that this whole thing was taking place in a religiously conservative, setup, where women are seen, as less intelligent. They are seen, so provocative. And if any part of their body is seen or even not seen covered, because in Pakistan people are not, usually wear dresses like with bare arms or bare legs. They're all covered, girls and women. Still, they bear the burden of honor of the family and religion. And if something unpleasant happened to them out in the street, it is their fault. So my father was acting, in that, framework, which was a normal thing in Pakistan and is a normal thing in Pakistan, because still certain part of Pakistan are very religiously conservative. But again, as I said, that it was shocking for me that this whole thing was taking place here in the UK. And I see the similar kind of mindset pervasive in certain section of Muslim communities, where girls are told to cover themselves from head to toe. We see 4-year-old girls sitting in the prom. They are children, but they are wearing hijab. And why? Because this is a toxic modesty culture. As I say, that people always argue with me that Islam has different interpretation in different societies. But what unites all those society is the toxic Islamic modesty culture that seeks to subjugate women. And this is exactly what is happening right here in the UK. Sadly, many Western progressives who claim to be the champions of women's rights remain silent over these terrible, terrible abuses. I have seen too often Western leftists ignore the victims when these victims are women oppressed by Islamic misogyny. I want to ask these people questions. I have so many questions, but here I put some questions to them. Why should misogynistic religious belief be immune to criticism? Why is it okay for women in other parts of the globe to struggle for equality and freedom, while women of Muslim heritage are expected to adhere to the patriarchal, cultural, and religious belief of their societies? Let's not forget that we have normalized this toxic modesty culture to an extent where the UK Home Office extended an invitation to its employees to participate in World's Hijab Day, even though its own rules state that women may seek refuge on the grounds of religious persecution if they are coerced into compliance with religious codes or dress. This is indicative of a wider problem. Progressive ideology demands that we should, or we ought to celebrate the toxic Islamic modesty culture that seeks to oppress women. And I would say, try telling this to the women of Iran or Saudi Arabia or Afghanistan, where these women suffer in silence. And women who are in the West, they are born and raised in the West, but they face ostracization and violence from their own family members and communities for daring to refuse to comply with this toxic modesty culture. But here we are.
Well, here we are, but I mean, overarchingly, there are 85 Sharia councils in this country, which could otherwise be described as Sharia courts. Now, they don't sort of make judgments on crimes or anything like that, but they make judgments on marital disputes, divorces, all sorts of kind of issues involving Muslims. So in other words, there is a sort of justice system going on just for Muslims. Now, you know about the Muslim culture here, and you say in your piece that we should fear, we should be careful, we should be worried about the rise of Sharia law. And I would suggest, Khadija, that the kind of people who organise that fun run in East London, the kind of people who believe women over the age of 8 have no right to take part in anything like that. They have to disappear behind their hijabs and burqas, and be only speak when they're spoken to. These are the kind of people who would like to see Sharia law operating on a full basis in this country. Am I right?
I think it is indeed worrisome how such dogmatic beliefs, such Islamic beliefs, which are dogmatic, rigid, misogynistic, discriminatory, they are to determine the boundaries of permissible discourse on women's place in British society. I mean, this is concerning for all of us as a society. And all this gives credence to the claims that the trait of yielding to religious outrage has given rise to a parallel justice system, and Sharia councils that you just mentioned, they operate as parallel justice system in our society. They say that these are advisory councils, but they are not in practice. They are Sharia council where Islamic laws are being implemented. They rule according to the Islamic jurisprudence. And these laws, these edicts are considered divine laws among Muslims, which cannot be disobeyed. And the women's right exploitation and violation at these Sharia councils have been well documented in mainstream media here in the UK. Still, they still exist. And we see that people who are very much supportive of these Sharia councils, they try to make it all about, guiding the Muslims and all that. But we know the reality. The religious and cultural belief that impose, such discriminatory and misogynistic, restrictions and laws on women and girls, they have been normalized now in our society. And as I said, many people don't bother about it.
Yeah.
And I would say that if we are still reluctant to discuss misogyny in religious context, as we see, such discerning shift towards a society that is, aligned, if not in policy, but in practice, aligns with certain aspect of Sharia compliance, then I think no materialistic support mechanism can be effective in protecting and preserving women's rights here in the UK when it comes to protect minority women.
Well said, Khadija. I'm just going to finish on a point I want to make, that the synagogue attacker, the terrorist attacker, Jihad al-Shami, had 3 wives. He kept 3 wives, and I would suggest, we'll talk about this another time perhaps, but I would suggest that perhaps we should bring in a law to stop that, to actually not allow this kind of aspect of Islamic culture to thrive in a country where we're not officially, legally supposed to be letting polygamy happen.
Just to add up, in your in your point, that we don't have to bring a new law. We just have to uphold
the current
British laws.
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying.
We have to just make it normal for the people to live under one law, which is equal for everyone. We don't have to give privileges to certain religious community just to appease them, just to get votes from them. This is a huge responsibility that is on the politician of this country. They have given importance and privilege to certain self-proclaimed community leaders, spokesperson of Muslim communities, who have I would say empirically hijacked the whole community, the whole narrative about Muslim communities. So this is where we need to focus to uphold the laws which are applicable across the board.
I totally agree with you. Well said, exactly right. So as I said at the start of our conversation, Khadija, I suspect that this fun run in East London that banned women, adult women, all women over the age of 8, was against our equality laws. So perhaps we should think about enforcing that. So no, you can't have this run unless you let all women take place. And by the way, well, he's not around here to talk about it anymore, but Jihad al-Shami, you can't have 3 wives. That's against the law in this country. You're right. Let's start upholding our own laws and not let the Islamic community create their own laws. I think you're exactly right. Really good to talk to you, Khadija. Come on again soon. That was Khadija Khan, journalist, telling you her story of her life as a Muslim. Isn't that a tragic story? Riding a little bicycle when she was 8 years old. Boys saying, oh, you're too permissive. Her dad says, right, you can't ever go on that bike again. It was 2 decades before she rode a bicycle again. She cried. I mean, this isn't right. It's ridiculous. 8 years old, and that was the age, by the way, above which no one was allowed to take part in this East London fun run. As I say, I think that's against the law, and I would suggest that the authorities, next time there's a fun run that bans women, just because they're women, bans that fun run. There's no fun if you're going to ban women. Am I right? 03444991000.